It is Tuesday, and do you know what that means, Dr. Murphy?
No, what does it mean?
It means we are here to trash some stuff.
Trash away.
Trash, a topic. Okay, well, we were just talking about how Dr. Murphy doesn't have any friends, so I just want to throw that out there. It has nothing to do with the topic. I just think it's sort of sad and hilarious.
Not really. I don't even like myself, so I can't blame other people.
Well, you know, you and me have that in common. I'm just kidding. Okay. All right. No, I like you just fine.
Okay, good.
You don't have to like me back, though.
No, not really.
I think it makes for a good dynamic, actually. All right. So here's the deal. Trash Talk Tuesday. Today, Dr. Murphy, we want to know what a patient should do if they feel like their doctor isn't listening to them. And as a doctor, how that makes you feel. So for example, a lot of times, especially doctors who have been in practice for a long time, immediately have an idea or think they know something. We all have been WebMDing things. We all have been looking things up. There's so much information online. There is such a weird dynamic between doctors and patients whenever a patient feels like they're not being heard. What would you say as a doctor? And then putting yourself into the patient's shoes, how would you explain that, or what would you recommend? A little tricky.
It kind of is, and I get it. And I think and I think your comment is true. I think more and more physicians are not listening to their patients.
Yeah.
But I also think a lot of the reason is, and I'm really against this too, is hospitals employing physicians. You employ a physician, they're on a payroll, they're going to get paid whether they're seeing you or not. And I think it leads to a lack of empathy where they just don't care. I don't care. Yeah. I don't have to listen to you today. I'm going to get paid whether I see you or not. So it's interesting because if you look at the independent physicians, which I am, I can say that, never, say never, I can say this, never work for a hospital. I just couldn't. I mean, I don't like anything about hospitals. But if you look at some of my colleagues in this area that are independent, they listen. They got a pretty good reputation. Now, I'm not saying all hospital employees are not good listeners, because there is certainly a good bunch. But it seems like these days since I've been doing this, and I've been doing this a long time, I think there's more and more that are just this, factory worker mentality, that where, don't tell me what's wrong with you, I'll tell you what's wrong with you. If you don't like it, go see somebody else.
Yeah.
So, I do think that exists a lot. And if I was seeing a doctor and he wasn't listening to me, well, I probably can't say on this video what I would actually say to him. And if those words didn't sink into him, I'd probably get a little bit on the physical side with some threatening things to him. So,
some threatening things.
I've threatened physicians before,
Yeah.
So I don't have an issue with it,
Yeah.
And
But as a patient, sometimes, you're limited by several things. One, location. Not
Sure.
a lot of people have access to transportation really far away. Maybe they're someone on Medicare, Medicaid. They only have one option, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe their insurance limits them to where they
It
can
does.
go.
It does. And these people, and to make matters worse, these people feel trapped. Now I have to see this guy.
Yeah. And they're trying to share. Because you know what? Me and Dave actually were just talking the other day. Dave has, on multiple occasions, when he's gone in to see someone, he will have been researching the topic and he's a smart guy, pretty heavily. And so when he comes in with information, of course he's trying to be respectful. He's not trying to act like he's a doctor and he knows everything. He's just saying, these are some things that I've heard. There's forums online where patients can share things back and forth with one another and get a lot of good information, And so when you're disregarded in that way and you do have really good information, then maybe something's missed, which has happened to Dave before, which has happened to all of us. I think it's okay if something's missed when a doctor maybe just hasn't gotten there, because sometimes it's just a process of elimination to try to figure out what it's not if you have something going on with you. But sometimes when you specifically told a person, I have this feeling based on this information and some ideas from peers that this might be X, and then they're disregarded So frustrating.
It is, and I think a lot of doctors have a hard time understanding 3 words. I don't know. I mean, they don't like to admit they don't know. I don't have an issue with it. I've said it a couple of times today. A person was asking me a question about something. I don't know. I don't practice that kind of medicine, so I'm not the best person to ask about that. I mean, I'll give you what I do know, but I don't know the answers to everything.
Yeah.
But a lot of physicians, they want to act like they know everything in the world, and just like, you don't. So.
Yeah. So what would you recommend? I mean, I'm sure for a doctor, I think if it was me, just telling you, I think the best thing to be, if you do feel trapped, to do your best to be respectful, even though you may not be feeling respected by the experience. Because if you really are limited to that experience on who you're able to see, you don't want to get indignant with someone and then lose your opportunity to. I mean, they're not going to change the way they treat you. They're still going to treat you the best they can because they're bound by oath. And
that doesn't mean anything, Michelle. I know people.
But legally,
not even legally. All the thing the doctor has to do is send them a letter in the mail saying, "I no longer want to see you as a patient,
true.
So you're fired."
So what do you think they should do?
There's really not a lot of recourse, for something like that, other than, I say, make a good call before you go see a doc. Look up his ratings, and you got to take those with a grain of salt too, because sometimes people manipulate the ratings, and but no, you really got to be careful.
And
which is, I guess, for the most part, look up what's going on with you. I've had people that look up what they say, and I had a guy come in here one time. He said, I had a stroke. I said, no, you got Bell's palsy. No, I had a stroke. I looked it up. I said, well, trust me, you did. You got Bell's palsy. You'll be fine in 7 days. I said, if you think you have a stroke, trust me, it's going to go away in 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
So I do get in some discussions, some argument, but then once I explained to him exactly how this happens, I said, now, this is how this is working. Now, go and look it up. And sure enough, they did.
Or go see
no, this one particular person did. And he called me up a couple days later. Oh, you're right. I do have Bell's palsy.
It's probably really frustrating on that moment, thinking that he probably thought you weren't listening to him.
No, he did think I was listening to him because I was arguing with him.
Oh, okay.
Because I was right and he was wrong.
So the other thing is there are now if you are within a certain network and you have to go to Mercy or Freeman, they have those physician lines. You could look up 1 million of them if you wanted. And then also I would say ask your primary care provider. If you come to an urgent care like Dr. Murphy, you can always ask another doctor, who would you recommend for X?
Sure.
And they will have an opinion.
Yes, we do.
So anyway.
And I don't mind sharing it.
Cool.
Because I don't care.
Well, yeah. I think that's pretty much everything for the topic. I don't know if it's so much of a trash talk, but it is a little bit, we have some empathy there for that situation. There's not a million things that you can do, but you do have some options. And you have the power of the internet at your hands. Now, you can't just go and assume that everybody likes to make jokes about WebMD. Oh, well, yeah, you probably have this, that, and the other. And that's fine, make jokes, but there really is a lot of information, a lot of forums out there. You could Google your symptoms.
And I think the thing you want to look for is what they call consistent information across the board.
Yeah.
In other words, if you see one doc, he's got 5 stars, but you look him up on another website, and he's got 1 star. Maybe not such a good idea.
Yeah, I agree. Cool. Well, that's pretty much everything. That's our trash talk.
Wasn't that trashy?
Wasn't that trashy, but maybe helpful.
We need to find some better trash talks.
Hey, I thought it was good.
I like to rant.
Well,
I'm having a rant withdrawal.
Okay, well, we'll discuss. We came up with one a minute ago.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, so, you have to watch Free Advice Friday if you want to know what we're talking about.
Okay.
All right. Well, we hope you have a great week. We will see you for the next video on Friday for Free Advice Friday.
The rant.
The rant.